Well, in 2001, you and another guy in the car got pulled over in Michigan, and they found 25 pounds of marijuana in your car. By that point, how long had you been selling drugs?
Maybe 2 years.
Okay.
That was just a fluke trip that I should have never ever tried to take. I should have never even thought about it. And somebody just telling me about getting some weed, and the money was so great. And by then, you know, I'm at the point where I need money because I want to live a certain way, and end up going up there not knowing that this person is probably the one that told on us.
Okay. And leading up to this, had you ever been pulled over, arrested? Did you ever come close to getting busted?
For what, drugs back then? Other than those possession cases, no. No.
Okay. And like I had mentioned with the cocaine game being what it is, was there rip-offs, guns pulled out, violence, nothing?
You know, I wouldn't call it a blessing, but I was grateful enough that I did business with people that wanted their money. They just want money and products. All that other BS, we don't have to go through that, man. That's beneath us. You know, you want to come over, we can eat with my family, you can come eat with your family, and we do business that way. They don't do business with the violence. And if you need violence with your business, then there's no sense in you being in it.
Right. You got lucky.
I got very lucky.
You got lucky because usually there's violence that goes with that business.
Right.
You know, 9 times out of 10.
Yep.
Okay. So then you get pulled over, like I said, in 2001. When that happens, were you like, oh my God, like, not only am I getting pulled over with drugs, but I'm also William Bedford, the NBA player. This is about to make like front page news.
I didn't think about that. When I got pulled over, the only thing I thought about was everybody finding out that I got caught coming across state line with marijuana. That's the only thing I was worried about. I did not know it was going to be nationally televised all over everywhere. I had no idea, because when I got out of jail, I got a bus ticket and took the bus back to Houston. And when I got back to Houston, you know, nobody knew that I got busted up there. Nobody knew anything. So I'm going around my everyday activities and going out to eat. And I end up going to Joe's Crab Shack. And we sitting there eating. And one of the people at the table said, look at the TVs. And when I looked up, every TV in the place had my face on it.
Wow.
And then people turning around looking and seeing it was me there. I had to get up and leave right away. The manager told me we didn't even have to pay for the food. We could just leave when we wanted to. I mean, every TV in the place told me I was being indicted. It was on CNN. It was on everything. And when they arrested me, they told us, they said, you'll be hearing from us when they let us out. They didn't take no bond or nothing. They let us out and told us, you'll be hearing from us. And then next thing I know, I'm on TV being indicted. There was no mail, none of that in front of it, coming before that to warn me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how the feds do it.
Yeah. They do 97% of their homework.
Well, I guess after that arrest, you got arrested 2 more times for marijuana?
Yeah, 2 more times after that.
Okay. How are you getting arrested?
That was
smoking in public or?
No, see, one time I happened to be in the parking lot of a club, and I had been tipping this valet guy for the whole buku's time I've been down there. I've been giving him $10 every time. And this one night, he wants $25. And I end up going off on him, calling him for words, but it was an officer close by. And he heard the commotion, and he came over there, and he went to tell me to leave. So I get in the car, and he wants to pull me out the car before I get out the parking lot and get to talking to me. Then that's when some other cars come up, and they get up looking in my car, finding the marijuana in my car.
Yeah. So those 2 times you got arrested, that was just for you?
Just fluke. That was just marijuana I had in the car.
Well, for 2 years, you had this case hanging over your head. And then, I guess by 2003, you ended up pleading guilty to possession of cocaine with intent to distribute.
Right.
Okay, but this was cocaine, but you got busted with marijuana.
Well, see, I got busted for marijuana. That ran with some more guys I had got involved with from Memphis, and they were being watched by the feds, and they got indicted, and I was number 11 on the indictment because I knew the guys. They were from my hometown. They came down there. I had dealt with them a couple of times, but nothing that would cause a big stink about stuff. So I didn't even think highly of it.
Right. But ultimately, you had to plead guilty. And when it came down to the judge, he gave you a 10-year prison sentence.
Yes.
Leading up to this, when you pled guilty, did you think it was going to be that many years?
Well, you know me being dumbfounded about going to court on drugs. You know, you for the possession cases, you know, you just play fine in court causes, or you spend 2-3 days in jail and you back out on the street. But this one, the judge told me 121 months. Me not calculating it, not thinking about it. I'm thinking, oh, I'm finna go over to jail for a few months and I'll be back out. And I ended up getting back to the cell, talking to an older guy. He was like 60-something years old. And he asked me, he said, well, how much time did you get? I told him, oh, man, I didn't get nothing but 121 months. And he was looking at me like, oh, you happy about that? I'm like, well, it's just 121. He said, man, do the math. I said, what do you mean? He said, 121 months. Do the math. I'm sitting up there thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. It's 30 days and what? He said, yeah, that's 10 years and 1 month. I lost it.
Yeah.
I lost it. I'm like, what did I do to get 10 years in prison? To be going from playing basketball to be in prison? That was probably about the toughest thing in my life I ever had to face, was actually being in the county jail knowing you finna look at these bars for the next 10 years.
Yeah, because you're 40 years old at the time.
Yes.
And it's a Fed case, which means 85%?
85%.
Right. In the best case.
But that's,
you know what I mean?
That's top notch, 85%.
85% is as good as it gets. Now, if you go and get into more trouble, and then that could turn into
It could
life.
turn in. No, definitely. I mean, I had a lot of friends. Well, not friends, but I made friends with some guys that was in the medium that were actually from Memphis and that followed me and played basketball in the whole 9 yards through Memphis, but they just never made it to college and stuff. Their paperwork says deceased. And I'm looking at these guys, they're in their 40s and some of them 30-something, and I'm saying, man, you ain't never going home? They're like, no. They're going to forever be in prison until they die. And I ran across quite a few, being in the federal prison system. I ran across quite a few people that was not going home.
I mean, when you get transferred to the federal prison facility, you know, you get checked in, your first night there, they close that door. How did that first night feel?
I don't know, because that first night happened when I got that 121 months and had to go sit back in the cell and think about, you got to go to another prison for 10 years. That feeling was the feeling of just giving up. Like, this is the end. This is it. There's no more bottom but this. I mean, where else can you go? All I'm looking at is concrete and men. And I got to do this for 10 years?
Yeah. I mean, from winning an NBA championship to being at the height of society.
In the parades, looking at the confetti, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Everybody. And can't hardly get through crowds and everything, to the point to where you don't even want to go in that crowd.
Right. You know, I remember I interviewed this rapper named Papoose, and he said when he got locked up in Rikers, that's when he really had his epiphany that he said the only thing lower than being in prison is death. That's it. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, and that's when he realized, like, okay, I got to change my life around, because if I keep going back to prison, it's like I'm dying every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've watched guys go in and come back before I could even get out. And I'm like wondering why. This is, I wouldn't even want to put my dog in this place.
You know, You said in an interview, you said when you go to prison, you actually leave the age out on the street. You become a whole other person in prison. Their mindset while they're in prison has to be there because you're survival. You've got to survive in prison, and getting out, your mind is still there. You're gone for so long, that's all you know. So essentially, time stops the moment you walk in, into that cell.
That depends. You can change that yourself. Like you going in prison, I know for a fact federal prison has all the resources from HVAC to masonry to welding. They got all the school. They got everything, even windmill training where you can go up in those big windmills and learn how to fix. They got every training that you need. And it's up to you to do it. It's up to you to get out there. You can lay up in your cell all day. You can go gambling all day. You can go to the rec yard and play sports all day. You can sit around and watch TV all day. But what are you reflecting on? Why are you there? That's when you get into other trouble. That's when you start getting into other problems around prison. But they got enough programs and a lot of things you can educate yourself at.